The Seahorse Effect by Sierra Steinbecker. Chapter 16. Back in Battle. Anakin was glad to be back in Jedi robes, but not about being put on the front lines again. How was he supposed to fight and keep the baby safe if he had a dizzy spell during a firefight? This whole thing was a terrible situation, and he didn't know how long it would go on for. Some of the other Jedi fought on the same planet with the same troops for months. That couldn't happen to him. Stop it, you're jumping to conclusions, he lectured himself silently. My permanent posting was supposed to be as a field medic. This is probably a worse spot than usual, and it'll be over once Obi-Wan and I figure it out. But if it was worse than normal, he should be as far away as possible. He'd be putting everyone around him in danger, including Obi-Wan, if he went into a fight when he wasn't in peak condition. He'd just have to be careful and pray a dizzy spell didn't hit while he was fighting. The ship landed quickly, and Anakin was hustled off it and into a speeder.
"We're glad you're here, sir,"
one of the clone commanding officers said as they rode out over the battle.
"A few days ago, the droids abruptly changed tactics. We suspect a change in leadership and are doing all we can to counter it. However, those changed tactics forced us into a prolonged engagement as we evacuated troops and civilians. We're being forced to retreat, but the droids focused their attacks on the transports meant to take troops and civilian personnel off-world. General Kenobi has been trying to distract them non-stop for almost 17 hours. He succeeded somewhat, but he needs help, which was why we asked for you to come."
The other Jedi wasn't hard to find. The pilot just followed the trail of droid corpses and found the flashing blue streak in the battle. Anakin jumped over the side of the speeder, cushioned his landing with the Force, and jokingly said, "Sorry I'm late." Obi-Wan didn't acknowledge him and continued to hack away at the surrounding droid troops, which abruptly tripled as their commanding officer realized just who had landed on the battlefield. The tactic of adding a second Jedi to the effort seemed to be working. More and more droids surrounded the two men, leaving their previous course for the transports, and the pair worked hard to keep it that way, slashing, hacking, and using force pushes and pulls to destroy the droids. But Obi-Wan was tired from hours of this intense fighting, and Anakin couldn't concentrate with the fears and misgivings from earlier swimming in his head. Eventually, one of them made a mistake. Anakin's cry came from just behind him, but Obi-Wan didn't dare glance back. He leveled the 5 droids in front of him with a surge of force energy frying their circuits. Quickly, he slashed at another droid coming up from the left and severed it at the neck. Crumpling it, smashed into the one behind it, and took down a whole column of metal soldiers, which in turn slowed down the one standing too close to them. Their stupid decision to stand so close together gave the Jedi some breathing room, and he yelled to Anakin, "Are you alright?"
"It's just a graze,"
was the strained reply. Obi-Wan was tempted to sigh. He'd probably have to drag Annie to a medic after this. Then the Force shrieked a warning, and Obi-Wan ducked. Blaster fire whizzed over his head, and he shoved thoughts of former Padawans with ridiculously high pain tolerances to the back of his head. Blue light whirled as Obi-Wan started attacking again. Meanwhile, Anakin was caught between panic, rage, and protective fatherly instincts. His blade, held one-handed, cut down any droid close enough as his other hand pressed against the wound on his side. It was too close to the twins. "I won't lose them because of this." His scowl deepened, and he lashed out with the Force. All the droids within 5 feet of the now furious Jedi crashed into those behind them. The red haze of panic and anger faded, and Anakin used the breather to shift his utility belt and cloth wrap around his waist, so they put pressure on the wound. There was a clanking to his right. Anakin struck out with his saber and cut the droid in half. Obi-Wan spared a glance behind when the droids around him were knocked back. Good. Anakin had temporarily taken care of the wound.
"What are we supposed to be doing again?"
the younger man asked. The master hit another 2 droids with a sideways cut and threw back, "Withdrawing fire, remember?" Anakin grunted as he deflected a dozen or more blaster bolts back into the mass of droids.
"And why were we doing that again?"
"Civilian and troop evacuation." The younger man nodded.
"Right,"
he responded as he thrust the tip of his blade into a droid's chest unit and quickly withdrew it to slice through the one next to it. He ducked more blaster fire.
"How long will that take?"
Obi-Wan spun and sliced through a droid trying to catch him off guard from the left. Another warning came and he backflipped over more incoming fire. He landed and immediately dropped to his knees, thrusting out an open palm. Several droids rocketed back from the Force bush. "Hopefully not much longer," he answered. "Why?"
"No reason,"
Anakin said, "so I can stop fighting and make sure the twins are alright." he thought. Thankfully, his blaster wound was just a burn, so he wasn't losing much blood, but he's still worried. Annie swerved to the side as a blaster bolt flew past his left close enough to heat the skin of his arm. He snarled and reached with the force. With a leap, a gun from a dead droid jumped into his outstretched hand, and he fired into the mass behind him and Obi-Wan. Several went down, and he kept right on firing. "Anakin!" He heard the shout and looked back at his old master. "Up!" The younger man leapt up as hard as he could. Nimbly, a speeder with an open cockpit and high shields on all sides caught both men. A few droids fired shots at the retreating craft, but they either missed or bounced off the shields. Obi-Wan climbed over a row of seats to the pilot. "How did the evacuation go?" He honestly wanted to know. The clone gave a small smile. "Fine, sir. All troop and civilian personnel made it into hyperspace. The only ship left is for you." He squeezed the pilot's shoulder in thanks. "Is that a medical kit?" Obi-Wan asked. The co-pilot, another clone, answered, "Be on my seat." Obi-Wan nodded and found the Durasteel box strapped to the floor of the speeder. He unstrapped it and climbed back over the seats to Anakin. With chagrin, Obi-Wan saw that the boy hadn't done anything to help the wound, not even taking off his utility belt. For some reason, he'd gone straight into a meditation. Well, that wasn't going to stop him, Obi-Wan decided. The belt was the first thing to go, then the obi, which was, of course, black. Why Anakin liked black so much, he had no idea. It seemed rather contradictory with how the Jedi were the light side of the Force. It's probably just to hide all the stains, Obi-Wan remembered fondly as he pulled up the man's tunic to expose his torso. Grease monkey that he is. "Hello, what's this?" The wound was healing right before his eyes. New muscle and skin pushed the dead blackened flesh out of the way. Well, he did start healing. He went to pull Anakin's tunic back down when he noticed something. The younger man's stomach wasn't as flat or defined as he remembered. The six-pack's defining lines had given way to a smooth curve that extended outwards ever so slightly. Then Anakin's eyes snapped open and he moved away from Obi-Wan so abruptly that the speeder rocked a little. One of the pilots looked over his shoulder and asked, "Is everything all right back there?" "Yes," Anakin shouted back, scowling at Obi-Wan. The pilot went back to his flying. The sullen ex-Padawan made a grab for his wrap and utility belt, still glowering. Obi-Wan turned away, a smile lingering at the corners of his mouth. If Anakin reacted that violently to him simply noticing the younger man had put on some weight, teasing him about this was going to be fun. Not that it would, but, well, it still made good ammunition, just in case.